And here we are. So we are live. It's been a crazy evening. We've had some technical difficulties, and I had to switch computers and all this stuff. So hopefully everything's working well, and we're looking forward to bringing in an audience here. We are. If you're just joining us, be sure to say hello in the chat. Um, we are streaming from Facebook and YouTube. So if you post on Facebook, we can see both chats, and we'll respond and highlight your comments so that both parties will be able to see it. Plus, we are trying to get. We've got some of our older episodes and working on getting some of our more recent episodes up on Spotify and other podcast aggregators. And since those people don't have video, we read any comments so that people know what's being said. Um, I haven't put Christine's name up here, and I don't. Oh, yes, you did. Aren't you awesome? That's Christine Pugh Gordon. It is not Margot today, but I am here, and I am Iris Carter. We welcome you. Margot had a wedding or event to take care of tonight and couldn't make the show. And our friend Chris decided to join us, and we're so excited. And like I said, if you're watching, please just say hello to us. Let us know you're there because it's hard. The numbers, we can't really tell who's there until you speak to us. Speak or type in the chat. So Christine is a lot of things. And she does lots of interesting things. And I only know a few because the times we've been together, we've been talking about everything else but exactly what you do. And so this is a learning experience for me. I know our program is going to focus on the shamanism aspect of the things you do, but I want to get more of a background of the other stuff that you do. So, Chris, tell us.
Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. This is such an honor, and I'm already having a great time, even with our technical difficulties.
I think you were having a good time through the technical difficulties, listening to me spew all kinds of.
Through all of it. I'm already having a blast. I guess the easiest way for me to describe what I do is I read and see energy, all types of energy on anything. Everything has some sort of energy. Everything from the most, my coffee cup has an energy field around it. Everything does. And so I have the ability to not only see the energy, which yes means I can also see auras, but I read the energy, and I feel the frequencies of things. And so luckily, and I also have there's a collective consciousness, and for me they call themselves the masters, and they talk to me pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And sometimes I act on it, and sometimes it's just information. And with all that stuff put together, I was born this way. Didn't realize that everybody else in the world didn't hear, see, or experience things like I do. Um, Made my teen years a little difficult, but I had a great support system and a fabulous family that understood me. So that made it a lot easier than some of my friends or counterparts or colleagues that had abilities and that they were born with that didn't have a support group. So I thank them. But anyway, so being a shaman was just kind of natural. And then when I was younger, my best friend, her grandmother, lived in Cherokee, and we would go up there 2 weeks in the summer and I just learned from watching her because she was a shaman. And then it just sort of came natural. Had some experience after I got married with my then husband's family is Cherokee, and it all just kind of came together with his grandmother's support and encouragement, and um, the things that she shared with me, and like I said, my friend's grandmother, the things that I learned from her, and so becoming a shaman just became natural. And they also say that a lot of people become shamans when they've had a near death experience. And I've died twice, come back. And so that just sort of gave me even more energy, gave me, and instead of hindering it actually did propel me forward. So when people ask me what I do, I don't even have an answer for it. So don't feel bad, there's not an answer for me either. In fact, I keep saying if somebody can put a label on it, they win the jackpot, because some people, everybody has their own label for what I do. But basically, in a nutshell, and a lot of what I do has scientific backing. I do a lot with quantum energy and theory, and so there's science behind it. It's not all just, as a friend of mine says, woo woo. Uh,
Guilty. No.
that's her term for anything metaphysical that she doesn't understand. She says woo woo,
I've
and
done it. Yep.
it's kind of caught on. So yeah, it's a unique gift, and it is a gift. Uh, there are times when I feel like the character Monk on TV when he says it's a blessing and a curse, because there are moments when I go, really, this is, but no, 99.9% of the time I know it's a blessing, and I love what I do. I love um, one of the shaman teachings that I've learned just within the past 10 years or so is a talk therapy. And shamans are, in general, are, because I read tarot cards, I give readings, I channel with the masters, there's all kinds of things, and I love all of that. But what I love to do is this therapy session that there are these 12 words that I have learned through training that will unlock the subconscious brain. And if you come to me and say, I need a session, I'm really just out of kilter, or I have a problem, or there's something going on, I'll give you an example. I have this beautiful gentleman who graces me with sharing his time with me, and he was unable to leave his home for quite a long time. And in just 6, 7 months, he's back at work. So yeah, he's really the poster child for this whole thing, and I get excited when we work together. When I know we're going to Zoom and have a session, I get excited because he's just taken the work and embraced it, and has just accomplished so much in such a short amount of time. So, but I just babble like I am now with these 12 words, just babble. That's all it is. And then I say, so now tell me why you're here. And what has happened in the time while I've babbled um, is that these 12 words have triggered the subconscious. And they say, oh, I can unlock from being fight, flight, or freeze. And so when the root chakra goes into one of those and it hits freeze, the subconscious brain just locks. And so instead of it's not a traditional therapy session, it's just then that person just starts talking. And in the middle of their talking, they go, oh, That's why this bothers me. That's why this triggers me. That's why I have a reaction to that. And I have the blessings of getting to watch these people come up with their own solutions. And all I do is just sort of gently guide or prompt, and they do all the work, and it sticks and it stays because it's not me telling them what to do or think or how to behave or react. It's them doing their own, and so yeah, all of a sudden whatever their trigger was, or whatever their their um their chaos was, is just gone. And 90% of the time when they come back, they go, I don't even remember why that bothered me. And it's not like, it's not hypnosis. It has nothing to do with that. It just doesn't trigger them anymore. So the brain has no need to remember it. Um, I mean, they remember getting upset, or they might remember, but they don't understand why. There's not that connection anymore to why something sent them over the edge, or close to the edge, or to the rails, or whatever. And so that's my favorite thing that I do. And I love all the other stuff that I do, but
Mhm.
I get to see people, the light bulbs go off and their life change for the better. And so that's what I love doing. But
I want to talk.
I'm shaman through and through. So,
Yeah. I want to real quick. I want to acknowledge Chris Loggins has come in and said hello, and I'm having trouble with that control. There he is.
hi,
Hola.
Chris.
Good to see you, Chris. And again, if you're watching, feel free to say hello to us. I'm with Christine Gordon Pugh and Christine Pugh Gordon. Christine,
It's okay.
sorry, I just took your name down, and I should have. I knew they were both in there. Yeah, Christine Pugh Gordon. Sorry.
That's okay. Not a problem. I answer anything.
Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
you.
yeah. Let me ask you, I want to go back to some of the stuff you were talking about at the beginning because it just made me curious. Um, when you talk about that you can see energy around things, um, are you seeing the aura type energy, or are you seeing like little waves? Are you seeing colors? Are you seeing glowing, or what?
It depends on what the object is. I cannot see auras in TV or in a mirror or my own, but I can see everyone else's. Sometimes I can see TV. It depends on how strong their aura is. Um, but I don't count on seeing that. But what I can do is, if we're zooming and I need to tap into your energy, I can close my eyes and we can breathe together and tap in, and I can see your energy field no matter where you are, just by tapping in remotely, which is a lot of fun. Um, but if it's something that gives off a low energy frequency, it might be more like sparkles, more of a dots, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, little orbs. But for people, I can see auras, trees, plants, um, that kind of living, breathing stuff. I see auras. But if it's just a pillow, it's just a hazy little, um, just little haze around whatever the object is.
Does
I
that
can
get
cut
in
it
your
off.
way with seeing things clearly? Do you know what I mean? Does it, if everything looks fuzzy, does that make it harder to see
Yes.
things, or you just
Mhm.
get out of the
Hence why I keep doing this.
way?
Yeah,
That must be a trip going to the eye doctor.
it
Your
is.
chart has an aura and it's too fuzzy for me to read.
It is. It makes for very interesting, going to the eye doctor. I actually had surgery on both eyes, and it didn't take it away. There or anything like that. But it sort of helped with the clear, but it didn't last very long.
Oh,
It lasted about a year, which was fine. But yeah, everything is, even glasses. Like I can't get a prescription for any kind of glasses, and it doesn't last very long because my eyes will automatically adjust to whatever the lens is that I'm seeing through.
interesting. So, okay, and here I just want to get your opinion on this. Margot and I have talked about like reincarnation and energy and rocks and trees and dirt, and we know that everything has energy, and that's a given. I mean,
Right.
science has proven that.
Science. Right.
Yeah, and we also recognize that, like, for example, dogs seem to become more and more human, and it's because they've lived enough lives that now they're getting ready to become human, that kind of thing. And like a rock, it might take a million years, but it can eventually go on to be a blade of grass and go on to be an animal, that kind of thing. It
Everything
was
evolves.
Yeah, everything evolves.
Mhm.
The I heard a woman talking recently, don't remember what I saw, but she was like, only things that have lived, how did she put it? Lived as a human being have souls. I think
Oh
that's what.
no.
And I was like, well, okay, I know animals have souls. And I would assume a rock has a soul. If it has energy, wouldn't it naturally have a soul source?
So everything has an essence. So um, the way she from from your um, from your example, I am assuming, and this is all assumption on my part. Um, she's talking about the universal God connect type of soul where, but that kind of soul, okay, where it's a connect. Everything has an essence, and an essence is the base of a soul. So there are, in my from where I come from, there are dimensions of souls, just like there are dimensions of everything else. So um a rock is going, if you pick up a rock, okay, I have this crystal, this beautiful crystal. I don't have it. If I thought I'd have it in here, my office somewhere near me, but it was just this little bitty rock, about like that. Okay, it has grown, not in the ground, just sitting wherever I put it. Right now, it's a paperweight, and it has these. It's a quartz, and it has these beautiful spikes and spirals coming off of it, and it has grown. It has continued to grow, even though it is not on the ground and has been harvested. It's living, and anything that lives has to have an essence because it has an aura, because it has energy. So, in my book, yes, everything has a soul. It may be a different type of soul than the one you and I have, but they're all souls, and they all
Well,
have a connection to
yeah,
whatever
it
our
is.
highest
Yeah,
thing is.
because that's what I was wondering. Because you said something about might be different than what we connect with, but if we're all connected and
Right.
all energy is connected, then yeah, we're connected to the rocks and the bugs and
Exactly. So,
so that's
and that's
interesting.
a perception thing. Like we're all connected, but there are people that only perceive what they perceive. And so that would be her understanding of what a soul is, that God connection, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and and if that's where we are, then that's our truth. And so, doesn't
And
make
that's
it
her
right,
truth
wrong.
at this point.
Right. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It just makes it their truth. But if we are of the ilk that everything is connected, and if I take a dropper and drop some tap water into the ocean, it's going to ripple out and it's going to become part of that ocean, along with every other drop that's in the ocean. And those drops turn into what we consider solid, a solid sheet of water, as the saying goes. And so when that's our truth, then we perceive things in life differently, even than and so that's why everybody's different, and we're supposed to be different. We're not supposed to be Stepford. And if we were, I wouldn't have blue eyes and funky colored hair that has every color in the rainbow in it. And and other people wouldn't have dark hair, or I can't say gray because I have a bunch of that too. I wouldn't I we would all look alike. We would all think alike, and we're not supposed to. That's the beauty of living on this particular planet, is it's a learning planet. So we're supposed to be learning, and we're supposed to be learning all kinds of things. One of them just happens to be how to get along with each other. But there's so much on this planet to learn. And that's why we come back, and that's why we do or don't decide to reincarnate. Sometimes we go, hey, it's just too hard.
Time out, time out.
And then sometimes it's like, oh no, I was so close to getting that right this time. And we go right back because we don't want to miss a beat. And so, yeah, that's just where she is, and that's just what she sees. And that's absolutely, like I said, there's no right, there's no wrong. There just is in the present moment what is. Because the past is the past. We can't do anything to change it, and the future hasn't happened yet.
Although it's all happening at once.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate too, if anybody has questions, please ask.
Please,
Yes.
please. Yeah.
You mentioned also that you have had two near-death experiences, and a little bit further than near.
Yeah. Yeah. Both of them were a lot further than near. Yeah.
So, would you mind sharing what you can about either of those?
Be glad to. So the first one, I was a teenager. I was newly in high school, and I was in a horrific accident. And so I was in the emergency room and flatlined, and was out for quite a while. And way back then, I won't say how many thousands of years ago it was, but way back then, they didn't have crash carts just everywhere. Okay, and so it was the shot and the CPR and the actual pounding on the chest is the thing that made me, from a physical standpoint, that was the earthly thing that made me come back. Um, that time was so different. I went up. I didn't want to come back. I argued. I'm not coming back. I was a little brat about the whole thing. And my grandfather, who was my best friend, he was like, sorry, you just have to go back. And I was like, no, I've never said no to you, but no, I don't want to. And because I knew how bad the pain was on this side. And so anyway, with some help, with some angels and some coaxing from some other people, or their energy, because that's what it
Seeing
was.
like a hammer and a nail. Tunk, 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 you're going
Yeah,
back.
exactly. And so I came back, and that was painful, but I got through it. And then this last time was totally different. I just said, I think I just died. And I just went through this beautiful, there were the same essence, the same energies were there around me, with me, more, because from teenager to, now, many years have passed. So more people to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that. I knew that, my daughter, I did think about my daughter, thought about my friends, thought about my family. Um, but there wasn't an urgency to come back. There wasn't a, oh, it was, I understood that, yeah, she's not going to be real happy about this, my daughter, real happy about this, but you know it was very peaceful, it was very serene. I didn't worry about, because there wasn't any pain in this scenario, so I just knew I had gone, and I almost didn't come back. I went as far to the edge as you can go without being able to come back. And I'm not, and the reason was, all of these people started on this side, on the earthly side, just out of coincidence, had a, which I don't believe in coincidence, but they were having a vigil for me, an energy healing vigil for me that night. And they just kind of overlapped. And all these people were, and there were people talking to me, and literally, I mean, and they said, "You don't know this, but I could feel you leaving." And it was weird. And I go, "Oh no, I heard you saying, please don't leave." And so I just sort of said, I think I'll go back. But it wasn't, there wasn't an urgency from either side. There wasn't like a, no, you have to go back. This is not your time. You stepped in when you should have not stepped in, and all that wonderful stuff. And yeah, this time was very, very peaceful. And this time they used the paddles to bring me back. That was an interesting experience. But yeah, so here I am. And just totally understand a lot of things that I never understood before because of those two experiences. Um, you know, it was just a beautiful experience, and I don't regret either one of them.
That's awesome. So do you feel like in both of those experiences, I mean, you got deeper understandings. Do you feel like it enhanced your abilities at all?
Oh yes, definitely, definitely.
I guess you kind
Um,
of wake up to more stuff, it's like, "Ooh, okay."
I find myself hitting that place of, oh, um, I don't get as up. I don't get as, I'll use the word frustrated. That's not the word I want to use, but I'll use it because I'm just not coming up with another one. Um, at people and individuals
Impatient?
when I think they should be moving here or doing this or whatever spiritually, and they were moving, and then they get stuck, or they stop, or they veer off. And and there are so many things in this new age of Aquarius that is not going to be sustainable, from the old energy into this new Aquarian energy. There's a lot of energy that isn't going to be sustainable because the frequency is going to be so much higher, that lower frequency situations, thoughts, emotions, etc., aren't going to be sustainable in that energy once we get into it completely and it closes off. And I see that, and I understand that. And I used to get really just almost bent out of shape about, God, you, why can't you see this? And now it's like, oh, you're not supposed to see it. So it's given me a new, calmer, more. I used to say you have to meet people where they are. Now I live. You have to meet people where they are. And I'm human. I still get upset. I still, you'll hear me drop the F bomb sometimes, or, or
Step out of it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But I find myself going, oh, and catching myself now and going, no, you just don't need to be upset about that. There's not a reason to vibrate there.
Very cool. All right, so tell us about, what is a shaman?
A shaman is just in tune with nature. There's, excuse me, I even looked up just for kicks. I typed in shamanism, and I found, one said a religion, and one said a way of being, and one said it's only for indigenous people, and there were just all of these different um, uh, examples that they were giving of shamanism. And basically, a shaman is someone who connects with the earth, connects with nature, connects with spirit, and all of these things come together, and we don't fix things. And we can do a poultice, we can do, incantation, the same thing other indigenous people or gurus or whatever can do. But it's not to fix anything. Shamans believe in taking people to their highest good, whatever that is. And sometimes your highest good is leaving this earth and going somewhere else. And that doesn't make it a bad thing. What I always, when I'm working with a hospice family, I'll say, death is not why you cry. It's the lack of ability to be able to touch and hug the person that has left here. It's that you're crying for. It's because they're with us all the time. Once something leaves, they're not stuck here. I don't mean that, but they can be with you whenever you want them to be with you. I lost a son, and he can be with me. All I have to do is call him. He's usually around anyway, telling me that I shouldn't do things the way I do them, but that's beside the point. That's just him being a teenager. And he comes to me as a teenager, but he was an infant, so I'm not real sure why he does that, but that's how he comes to me.
Interesting.
And so, but yeah, it's very it's about assisting people to find their highest good, to find that place within them that is the highest vibration that they can achieve at that particular time and space in their life. And it's about trying to bring balance into not only the world, but into the individuals around us, and in ourselves. And like I said, shamans are human. We have the same emotions and same thoughts, and can go down the rabbit hole and all the stuff that everybody else can do. We just have the tools that when we start to do that, we go, and we can back up, and we don't go as far down most of the time. But we can allow ourselves to do that just like anybody else. But being a shaman is, and that's the part about the other thing I was talking about earlier. Shamans just love to see people grow and evolve and take that next step into whatever their journey is. And we have this belief that I'm going to take a little bit from Esther Hicks, but it's basically the same thing. We're in our canoes in the stream, and I'm in my own canoe, but that doesn't mean that our canoes can't touch each other, or ride together, or and then split apart and come back together later. It's we That's how we coexist. And shamans don't believe in codependency. And there's a lot of that shadow work right now coming up about codependency. We understand that everything is united, but at the same time, everything is separate.
You got to let
And that,
everybody go on their own journey.
right, and that can be a very hard concept. Separate but together, together but separate, and that can be confusing. But it's once you get to the place where you realize I am me and I am responsible for me, and you learn the 8 words of unconditional love, which everything has to start with self. And once we learn, the unconditional love and the trust and the believe and the allow, and forgiveness, compassion, and we put all those together, the last word is balance. And once we balance, and balance doesn't have to be equal. Balance just means that we accept what the little bit of, I'll use masculine and feminine energy just as an example. We all have both, but we're dominant. We're either dominant feminine energy or we're dominant feminine masculine energy. Doesn't have anything to do with male, female, it's just energy. And once we learn that my masculine energy may only be a small percentage, the fact that I honor it, understand it, work with it, allow it to be who it wants to be when it wants to be, then I can be the other 90% feminine energy and still maintain balance. I don't have to be 50-50. I can be any amount of, I need to be. And that's the beauty of bringing that space in and sharing it with people, is just learning that balance.
I'm wondering if balance, in one sense, we think of balance as like the scales and that it has to be even. But I'm wondering if balance in the way you're referring to it is being 100%, whatever that comprises.
You can be it as a, the balance is about understanding that one, no matter how much of one or the other, no matter how much sugar, okay, you have a cup of sugar and 2 cups of flour, but so it would be like this, and balance would be understanding that this may be 2 cups, this may be one, but they're equally important. They don't
Yes,
have to be equal in size, but they're equally important.
gotcha. So how does one become a shaman? Is there a secret handshake or a membership card or tattoo on your ass that tells you that's
Sometimes you get really lucky and you find an indigenous shaman that will take you under their wing, and you basically have to have the traits of a shaman. You have to have that natural ability to see things, not necessarily auras, but to see things differently.
Mhm.
It's all about your perspective. However, that being said, there is a place called in New York State, and I'm not sure exactly where, but it's called the Four Winds Society, and you can actually take classes on how to be a shaman there. Their shaman, theirs isn't quite as indigenous as in North America, but they're still shamans. They still learn the same things. I have some colleagues that have gone there to become shamans, and they're excellent shamans. It's just a learned process versus a natural process. And both work, both are equal. There's not a better or worse. Um, so if you have those tendencies, um, the four winds can be just as beneficial to you as if you don't have those tendencies but want to learn how. Um, and it's an excellent place to start. Uh, I I was very fortunate that I was around shamans, and I've been, when I was 3, I was learning how to read tarot cards with my godmother. She went every Saturday to a reader, and I tagged along. And so I've done this my whole life. I don't know any different. And sometimes I teach classes, not necessarily on how to be a shaman, but how to read energy, how to. I do about 2 classes a year on Zoom or in person, one on one or in a group. Um, on Energy 101 is what I call it, but it's basically how to read energy, how to um, literally go stand and hug or sit with a tree for hours at a time, and just be awake but be lost.
Yeah.
Let the tree take you to wherever you need to go. uh, I teach, how to meditate. Meditation is key for all of this. The more you meditate, and there's a series of 7 meditations in one of the modalities that I do, and they're beautiful. And the very first one is to learn how to be in darkness, because it's called the womb, WOMB, um, effect. And it's learning how to go back to that place where we started, because the egg and the sperm didn't come under the sun, the light and the sun, and say, oh, here we are, and then crawl up. It was in darkness where they met. When we plant a garden, we put the seeds down and we cover it up, and they grow up, into, toward the sun. So, the chickens and the egg, so everything, not everything, but most everything starts in darkness. It's where we begin.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is like that's the first of the 7 meditations that we do. Um, and it's just learning how to be in that darkness. And people come out of it their very first time totally amazed. And I just did this with a young lady on Tuesday, and she was, she woke up, and I could tell, you can always tell. They're like, okay, well, that was all right. And I said, so how long do you think you were in there? And she goes, I don't know. We did that for about 10 minutes, maybe. I said, you have been in your meditation for 55 minutes. And it's always like that. So when we go to that dark place and we do the meditation, we start there and we stay there. It's so comforting that subconsciously we go back and go, oh, I remember this. I was fed. I was taken care of. I didn't have any worries. People would come up and rub me, as in mommy's belly. I had attention. I had everything I ever needed. And then you pushed me out here, you know? So here we are, and subconsciously you just go to that place. And sometimes people see visions, and sometimes they have a hard time keeping it dark, and everything in between. And all of it is right. All of it is accurate, because that's where you start. And then from there, they just blossom. And that's the beauty of being a shaman, is that shamanism is not about forcing. It's about collecting the things that work, that vibrate at the same frequency, um, and bringing it together. It's like the sage stick and the feather. You can sage a room and never have a feather, but if you use the feather, it's it they go together.
Mm-hmm.
The feather sends the smoke out. It kind of diffuses it, and kind of sends it out into the air, versus just a sage stick, which is just going to be, you kind of have to walk around with it. And it also keeps the flame going, because
Yeah.
you're fanning it. And so you don't have to go back and light it the whole time. And I just watched a ceremony on YouTube of, a fellow shaman, and he was at a cemetery where the children, who have died in in the school system, the the uh, the United States school system, for that are at certain reservations. But he was out there, and he had his sage, and he had his feather, and he was going around just saging these beautiful cemetery plots with these beautiful headstones of these children, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Um, And people don't think about smudging outside. I live over a lawyer's office, and my neighbors see me out there smudging the parking lot every weekend because people underneath me are just angry. You go to a
Yeah.
lawyer, you're angry.
I've gone
And
out
so
on my street in Sage too, especially like right at the beginning of the COVID, and there was so much confusion, and I was like, okay, let's just get this out, you know.
exactly. So, and there again, it's about moving the energy. It's not that energy, they're angry, but that doesn't make the energy bad. It just makes it
Different.
um different. And but it's not comfortable. For the people, for other people, it may be very comfortable.
And some people feed off of that negative
Yeah,
energy.
exactly. And that's who they are. And that's okay.
Yeah.
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 We just because we are at a different dimension or vibration doesn't mean that the people that are at another dimension or vibration are are wrong. And it also doesn't mean that we're correct. It just means that that's where we are. And that's how a shaman lives. A shaman doesn't see things as, you know, I live in a tourist town. And so about this time of year, it starts getting really hairy as far as traffic goes. And you don't even have to see yours. You can tell who's who by how they drive around here. And you can tell the ones that are visiting, and you can tell the ones that come from big cities or big traffic areas, and you can tell the ones that have lived here for a long time and are just going, sure, go ahead, I don't care if you cut in. You can just tell by the energy of how these people drive, of where they are, where they come from. Um, and and that's one of the homework assignments I give to my students is go out and drive in the traffic, and then come back and tell me, where are you? Are you the aggressive driver? Are you the violent driver? Are you the one that has to stick your finger up and scream at them as you go by them? Or are you the one that is creating the problem? Or are you the one that just goes, sure, turn, and is aware of everybody around you? Because that's part of being a shaman too, is being aware of everything that's around you, the nature, the human being, the energy off the car, the whatever, if
I
that
know,
makes sense.
in the past, I have I have been told a lot of what you're describing, I've experienced or done or what, and I have been told, or it was mentioned by someone else, you're like a shaman, and it's like, I don't know. I just know what I know, and I just kind of, you
There
know,
you go. That's it. You just know what you know. And you
yeah,
don't always know how you know. And the difference is you know what you know, and you don't always know how you know, but you don't care how you know.
yeah,
When you have to have a well, why? Then your tendency is you may be clairvoyant or you may be something else, but you're probably not a shaman. But if you just know what you know and you go, I just know what I know, and you're confident that you know what you know, but you don't have to have an explanation of how it got here,
yeah. And
that's
other people might ask, well, how do you know
yeah.
that? Well, let me think.
Hmm.
Who, and a lot of times it's just I don't know how I know. I just know that that's something I've been told, or I remember, or um, and remember in the sense that maybe I wasn't told it in this life, but I knew it in another time. And
Exactly.
and a lot of times, a lot of the stuff that I know, I will sometimes somebody will be talking about something, and I'll start giving them an answer, and
I
I'll
love
stop
it.
and go, "Am I making this up?" Nope, I'm not making it up. Because it's like, where the hell is this coming from? And
That's exactly it. Yes.
yeah, and
Yes.
it's just, but I know it's the dark, and it can be anything. as simple as, the origin of paper to something deeply metaphysical. But I just ask for the answers and they come. And
They come.
I look it up later and I was right. It's like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. We call that validation.
Yeah.
We call it validation, and it's and I love it when I walk in and I know the person is going to test me.
Mhm.
You just know, and that's always fun from my perspective because, like I said, it it doesn't matter to me. I'm not offended if you can believe me. You don't have to believe me. I'm not offended. It is your choice. Um, but it's when my friends and one of my very dear friends went on a trip, came back, and there was a group of us having breakfast after she got back, and she said, I went to a psychic while I was gone. And another friend said, oh, really? How did that go? And she said, well, it went okay, except for the fact that every single thing that she told me, Chris has been telling me every day for the past, whatever. And, and I just keep eating. And she goes, don't be smug. And I'm like, I'm not being smug. I just don't, what do you want me to say? Um, and she goes, I know, just every now and then she goes, because I know you. And that part is fun for me. And I know it doesn't sound like it should be, but the people that really know you and that know you as someone else, but they also know you as the shaman part or the psychic or the I don't call myself a psychic, I'm more of a medium. um that person who does whatever, makes voodoo dolls, whatever it is, there's always that little bit where they go, well, let's just see if she gets this one right. Let's just see if she gets this one right. And I just find that from a human standpoint, to just explain, it just says so much about who we are as a species, and how we just don't have that ability, that gene, to have that unconditional trust. And that's why we're always working so hard to get there. And that is one of the reasons why we reincarnate and everything, because we just, and we don't have that 100% belief. Well, not sure if I can believe, not sure if I can trust, and that goes from, you know, A to Z.
And I think some of that comes from our ego, where we don't want to be embarrassed if we are wrong or are tricked or proven that, oh, we shouldn't have trusted that. Or when you have experiences in your life where you made a judgment on something based on trust, and then that was taken away, and you realize, I didn't judge that right, and it resulted in bad things. And then sometimes that's just the perception at the time. It might not have been. It might
Right.
have been the perfect thing to do. You just didn't like the results because you didn't understand them. I can't
Exactly.
yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've told, or talked with in the job I do, my day job, so to speak, and helping people with their resumes and stuff. And they'll sometimes they'll come in and go, "Yeah, I got fired." And I'm like, "And how long did you want to quit that job?" And they're like, "How did you know?" And it's like, "You asked for it. It happened.
It
It's
happens.
time to move on. There's something better happening. Just wait." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." Yeah.
Yeah. No, you are exactly right. And it's always one or the other, balance. It's always a lesson we needed to learn that we were blocking ourselves from learning. And so something chaotic had to happen to
Kind of
get us
shakes you.
exactly, or exactly like you said, which is the usual way, is that we went to work every day and all the way to work. God, I wish I could be doing something, something, something else. And the whole time we were at work, God, I wish I could be doing something, something, something else. Well, guess what? We just manifested the heck out of that one
I
because,
manifested it for myself.
hmm yep, yep,
Number of years ago, as soon as it happened, I said, "I know. I asked for this." And I was packing. I got fired from a job. Totally ridiculous reason. Didn't make any sense. And I was like, I had promised myself about 6 months before that I was going to leave. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, where I wanted to apply, and I never did it. And it was like, as soon as it happened, I was like, I get it, universe. If since I didn't make the motion, you're doing it for me.
hmm
Best thing that ever happened to me.
yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
And I laughed the whole time when I was packing up. Yeah. And I think my former boss was confused.
Yes, and see, and that's that human part that goes, yes, he was. And I don't fight that human part that goes, yes, he was. I allow myself to have that little kind of moment, because I'm human.
Yeah.
I'm not
Enjoy, you're
perfect.
human, you're meant to live the human experience, enjoy what you can out of it.
Exactly. And we have free will. And a lot of times I'll see, especially friends and loved ones, because you don't want to become that person that comes off as the know-it-all, or um the person that's telling everybody what to do or trying to fix people's lives or whatever. And so a lot of times it's really difficult to sit back and let them make their own choices without putting your 2 cents worth in. But if you're not asked, you're supposed to stay quiet. Um, and it can, but when it's somebody you care about, it can be very difficult. And but I've learned that I have to be quiet. And I'll go, "Ooh, that's not gonna feel real good when that happens, but you're gonna be okay." And that's the part that I know is when that happens, whatever it is, fired or relationship breaks up or whatever. Um, uh, and it can even be as something as really, really subtle as their house burned down because their house had become too important to them.
Wow.
So it can be we that's why balance is so important, because when something becomes way too important, it's our obsession, our focus. They give us many, many times to kind of veer from that. But when we don't, and we know we're not doing it because that's when we have friction and that's when we're not happy, but we don't know why always, then they take, like you said, they take care of it for us.
I always refer to the spiritual Roomba. It's like it gets stuck and it bangs against a wall. You
That's true. Oh, I love that. That is beautiful. I love it.
Sometimes it just needs a little nudge or a little reprogramming.
Just a little, yeah.
And then it goes, oh, then life goes smooth again.
I love that. That is perfect. That is perfect. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
So, yeah. But
Okay.
that,
So I see we're coming up on an hour here.
oh, wow. Fast.
Yeah. Time flies. This has been great. I appreciate the information and all your sharing. If somebody wants to reach you, what's the best way to do that?
They can reach me by phone, which is 910
Wait a minute,
four
let me.
four one three.
All right, I'm trying to get my nine. Well, no, it's not going to let me type it here. I don't know. I What I can do is I will add it
With
to the
technical
comment.
difficulties, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll just give it to you later since you're going to add it later. But they can get me by phone 910-232-4413. Or I have a website. It's all one word, small letters, lowercase letters, Celestial Healing 14 at Yahoo.
At
And
Yahoo.
then
That's your email, right?
that's my email, yeah. And then I have a website, which
Okay.
is it's brand new, so you have to literally type the whole thing in. It's that new, but it's Celestial Healing with Chris, and with is spelled out. It's not the shorthand. It's WIT.
Okay. CHRIS.
Right.
Okay. We will add that to the notes under each of the I probably won't post your phone number. If they've listened, they can have it, but I'm not gonna just
Okay.
put it out there because I don't want you to get all kinds of weird calls. Um,
I would just add them to the stack of the other weird calls.
Chris, it's been delightful, and I know we're going to have you back. So I
Oh, thank
appreciate.
you. I have enjoyed myself immensely. Um, I just, thank you, Margot, for having something else to do. And
And
sorry,
I'm sure it'd be great to have her and you on, yeah, all three of us
oh,
together.
that would be awesome. I would love that. And Iris, I love you immensely, and
Oh,
you are just a gracious, beautiful host. And thank
oh,
you so much.
thank you, and I
Thank
love
you,
you. I really do.
love you.
You're such a dear friend and such a great person, and I appreciate all you do and for you being here with us.
Thank
So,
you.
all right, with that, good night and namaste. I hope everybody has a great week and we'll be back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thank you for joining The Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons. Visit our Facebook page for broadcast details at www.facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo. Show is copyrighted 2022 by Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears.